Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's do a roll call. Elaine Daly,
Here.
Robert Shea. Here. Mark Strong,
Here.
Ben Vitale here. Let's approve the minutes on February 14th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so is John Camargo or Batman here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Gloria, thank you for having us this evening. You have a report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
We do not.
Okay, very good.
I'll ask one. All your training is done for all the,
We still
everybody's
got, we
done?
got a little bit coming up, but maybe just one day left for the training, but everything's mostly done.
And people think the machines are much easier than before. Is
They're
that
very
what I'm
happy-
hearing?
They're very happy with the machine. Yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your support on that. I think it's gonna be, they're gonna work out very well.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Sheila Smith.
You have my report. Do you have any questions?
I personally do not. Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
All right, this is going good.
You set the record here.
Who's gonna cut me? All right. Palermo.
We're in transition. Chris and Brittany are moving. I'm gonna be starting at DSS come Monday. Still.
No, I was gonna say that was a shock face. Yeah.
I thought every-
This is the first I've heard that. I think.
I was told everybody knew.
No.
What are they moving?
Chris's last day is the 18th. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And Brittany is going with him to the
Yeah.
Department of Services to fill the two attorney
So
positions.
they will have 3 attorneys downstairs. We will have 2 attorneys upstairs.
So last week, we were sitting here, they agreed that there was 3 new hires at
So,
DSS. They never said who,
yep.
and they knew at that time. Who the 3 were.
Yeah.
So the 2 to 3 were Chris and Brittany?
Yes.
I got the impression, he's here, I got the impression that there was no offer made until after the end of the February meeting, resolutions passed. So I don't know.
The only inclination is that we have a meeting scheduled to appoint a county attorney.
They said at the meeting, and you can go back and look at the minutes, they said they had hired.
Yep.
They didn't say,
Oh, no, because it was after the end of February. You're right. Their meeting was in March. I don't,
this is March.
excuse me. No, the DSS Social Services Committee meeting was in March. The permission to hire the attorneys to fill was the end of February. So by the time March came, they obviously had made the offers and people accepted it. And they reported that they were hiring 2 attorneys, but I guess didn't mention who. I left before I heard
Well,
Christine
I'm
talk.
just saying, like I said, I'm only going by what was said at the full edge. We can go back and look at the minutes, but it was briefed at the full edge that they had hired, and the word hired was said.
I thought it was briefed at the Health and Human Services Committee meeting.
No.
No?
Full edge, they
Oh.
said they had hired 3 attorneys. No names were given.
Would they have reported at the full edge, Mark?
Somebody did.
Huh. Yeah, I don't.
I think.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Suggest that we-
Maybe I could be wrong, but I'm still shocked. Okay, it is what it is. Sorry to interrupt you.
I mean, that's all there is. We're just,
So
Come
they'll be
Monday,
fully
they're-
staffed and
what's that?
they'll be fully staffed in DSS and you'll be down. in the county attorney's office.
Well, Rich, I'm not happy with your report. Thank you.
It
Don't,
was shocking. We'll use that term.
don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay.
But, yeah, so, we still have our hands full.
I was just gonna leave earlier. I thought, oh, we'll have to congratulate the lessening of the workload for the sixth floor. That was an understatement.
Any additional comments? All right. Mr. Scanlon, Brian.
Good afternoon. This here?
Yeah, sure.
You're not gonna say anything shocking, are you?
Are you leaving the country?
Wouldn't ever.
Hope not.
All right. So my report has been submitted for three of my departments. Any questions on those? No.
Yeah, the dreams conclusion of phase one is not a big deal. It's just delayed
just- it's
from
a
the
four-
time frame.
Four-phase project, so phase one was mostly the clerk's records, a lot of the court records. So we're nearing the end of that phase and we'll be moving on to phase two, what is documented services, social services.
Says here, use project status, phase one, approximately 30% completion, so you got 70% more to go.
No, that's the entire project.
Says phase one. Is that a typo?
Well, means phase one is 30% of it.
30% is the amount of the 4 phases
I'm just reading what's
Yep.
printed.
here.
Phase one, approximately 30% completion.
This one.
I will get clarification on that for you.
I don't want to read into.
No, I'll get clarification for you on that. And I'll send you an email, but I believe that 30% is in the entire project.
Not a problem. Just was reading what it said.
Because the phase one is the first bullet point. That's the second bullet point. So I'm pretty sure that is for the entire scope. But I will, again, get clarification on that and let you know.
Each phase has different departments that you end up
Yes, yeah.
digitizing.
Correct.
And
Correct. So
that
it's
at the
4.
end, there's no more paper records? Or there
Not-
might be
not sure,
some.
to be determined.
Okay.
There will definitely be some.
Yeah.
not much.
Right, but we're trying to reduce that amount. So we will know that more. So I had a meeting with Michael the other day. Probably this summer, I would probably know more of that.
And the money that we have for that project, there's no time frame expire. I mean, it's
No,
fully
there is a
funded
time
and,
frame.
oh,
You know that, Rich, 2026.
As far as the ARPA monies?
yeah, that's the only, we have ARPA and then you got other grant
And
funding.
it has to be committed by 24 and has to be completed by 26.
Right, and the whole project was not funded by ARPA. Remember, we were gonna do
No.
2 and then there was other money.
I don't remember exactly who.
For that project.
Yeah, I thought ARPA was like maybe 2.
I thought it was 4.
There was another grant or something. in-
There was another grant, and the 2 million came back.
Yes.
Yep.
2 million came back. So we had no ARPA money involved in the Dreams project. As far as my
So I
memory.
could get the sauna for our.
Sure,
our
absolutely.
office,
Well,
you're the only one there, for sure.
Order a new desk. I
Brian,
say in jest.
I got a question for you. Like, we never had anything digitalized, right? There must be tons of paper. Where's all this paper? Is there like a storage room that we put all the,
Over to the county jail, is the Regional Detention Center. So
so it's over there, so it must
Majority
be
of it.
like a mess.
Oh, boxes and boxes.
it's not, it's organized.
No, I mean, like, it's gotta be to the wall. If it's here is a,
There is.
And I can
floor.
speak for the district attorney's office. They have all the district attorney's records are all stored at the district attorney's building.
So some
so
of the
if
different
there's a
departments,
fire, there's no backup.
correct.
So how do, like, when you digitize, do you take each paper and scan it in? Like I would.
Yep, that's
Like,
basically what
it's
happens.
like physically have to scan it in and then put it in a file.
Our
and then-
vendors are doing that for us.
Okay.
So once we,
I know it's a basic question, but it just seems like.
no, well, I'm learning,
Decades of.
I'm learning a lot about this myself.
And I just will add comment that anything historical for the county, not only is it being digitized, but it is all the current paper form kept. And I don't know how much is actually historical, but.
Correct. So that's, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know factual on that. My understanding is that that's all being reviewed under quality control, and we are making sure that we're maintaining records that are either required to by your state archives or OCA.
Yep.
And the state ed department, of course. So we're sifting through some of that stuff as we speak.
That's a good indicator of the enormity of the project,
Get
is to have
a
it
tour of the
floor
old
to
jail.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Each floor.
Yeah. A lot of the documents aren't there right now because they're at our third-party vendor. And some have been destroyed because they're digitized, and then the OCA is signed off on for us to go ahead and destroy them. So the goal of the project is to get rid of a lot of the hard copy stuff and digitize it. But the answer to your first question is some of the stuff has been digitized over the last several years, 5 years in particular, because in our recording office right now, they're scanning documents right into IQS, which is another software system that we have.
So what happens to the paper when it's done?
If we have the approval, the authorization from appropriate departments, appropriate state departments, destroy them, we can. But they have to be retained for a certain schedule, and then we'll retain them in our records department.
One other question, does the paper keep its stain, like, it doesn't turn yellow, or is it like, is there a certain temperature this paper has to be in?
Ideally, it's.
I'm just thinking of a whole building of paper, like.
It's quite a bit over there. You should go
I'd
through
love
it.
to I'd love to have you come in for
Wow.
a tour sometime.
I can really, honestly, I can visualize what you guys just saying. What it's okay.
We have found.
Better to see it out with your own two eyes.
They found a couple boxes in the last load that went over to you guys with like actual mold and mildew in it. So they won't touch any of that. That's gonna come back to us. They have to get stored in a vault until we can decide what we can do to take care of that.
The sheriff had a book that was dated back to 1700.
I remember.
It was here, he brought it here last.
But
So
for the ones that are damaged, those aren't being digitized at all?
they, at this point, no, because it's a health hazard to open that up. So we have to figure out what we're gonna do with this.
And do we have anybody who's an
Ted King.
expert on that to tell us how to fix it?
This is my second month on the job. Oh, come on.
You know,
The king.
must be an expert.
$100.
I thought you were gonna say, is there anyone we don't like that can do that work? Yes.
Just get out the box.
Question on the
I wouldn't know.
5-year audit
Yes.
on the
for DMV.
DMV, yeah.
Sure.
Where are we into that? I mean, that seems a long time.
It's a process. They say it's like a 6 to 8 week process.
Really?
So we're about, I don't remember the date exactly when they came in here. We're about 4 weeks.
All right.
So we should be getting some feedback here relatively soon.
Okay. And most of it, I'm assuming, is on the database or something like that, because
Because they physically come in the office and go over our hard copy records and visualize how we store things and make sure we have lock and key, all that stuff. And then they go back and they review whatever they have at the DMV
Yep.
and then report back to us.
cool.
So I anticipate that probably end of the month.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
What do you think while you're here, you want to do a resolution?
Certainly. It's 70 degrees outside.
Take your time, read it all.
So I would like to present my one resolution, my very first resolution. Resolution 324 GO3, and it is to authorize the filling of a full-time index and reporting clerk, along with the potential for Phil Wine. It's covered in there as well. I just had a provisional appointee in that position resign a couple weeks ago and take a job in the private sector. So she has since completed her 2-week notice and she left us 2 weeks ago. So I'm looking at filling that position as soon as possible.
I'll move it for discussion.
Second.
So if you promote someone from within, you'll fill behind that. If not, and you'll just fill this budgeted position, right?
Correct, correct.
So the fill behind would be budgeted also.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
I have one other position at that level that's vacant at this time as well, which is budgeted for. But I'm not asking for fill on that.
Okay. And do you think you're likely going into that job? or-
We're still waiting test results.
Gotcha. Okay.
The test was taken in October,
Mhm.
so hopefully, we're hoping for this month, which already passed, but
Right.
we're hoping next month. So if not, I would look at develop provisional from within.
Yeah.
Can we get a motion to?
Got a motion and a second.
Yep.
Second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, anything else, Brett?
I just got a couple other points I
Yeah, go
want to
ahead.
run across. So DMV audit, Bob already mentioned that, so that's also that. The state-run DMV offices locally, there's two to us over towards Syracuse, West Half Road and Western Lights. They're no longer accepting dealers to come in their offices. So that's a good sign for us because some of those dealers are coming to us now, so that will hopefully increase our revenue. I just wanted to report that.
Does it have to be in person to do a transaction, or most of them like to do it in person?
I don't have that answer.
Okay, I just curious.
I'm not sure if it's required. I know a lot of them come in here, so they bring
Yeah.
multiples
Yep.
when they come in. But Peter has reported to me that Western Lights, some people have come from over Syracuse way and said that they were told that at Western Lights and that road. We also last month had another audit. We had our passport office audited, and I'm proud to report that our staff was at over 99% accuracy with their reports. The auditor himself was very impressed with that. So that's kudos to the staff down there. This is all 2023. With that, we had one item or one thing, if you will. And it's not a fault of ours. It's something that happened elsewhere that occurred over the last year, was the way that passports, once we take applications, the way that they're mailed out, we can't drop them in the blue box anymore. We have to physically give them to a postal worker, whether it's a mail carrier that comes in or if we walk up to the post office and do that. So we made that change immediately, so we're in compliance now. I do have one more personnel in my office that got certified to do passports this past month, so that's Lisa and myself. Who's going to do hers in a couple of weeks, and I'll eventually get my kids of mine coming up. We hosted the IQS training in early February when we had our Onondaga colleagues over for that. I told about that last month. That went very smooth, very well. We did our IT did their migration of the IQ. We have two computers at each of our workstations down there. IT has did their migration to get the IQS computer migrated to the county computer system. So everybody has one computer now. We're working off one, a lot more efficient and a lot better communication amongst us, because when they were in IQS, they were out of our county computer system. So they weren't getting their emails or their messages or whatnot.
What is IQS?
That is information something services.
Okay.
That's our software,
The-
our main software program.
Okay, for the,
Record now.
yes, okay.
Tom, do you know what that stands for?
IQS, I don't have the acronym, but it's a records information system for the county clerk's office. Yep.
So April coming up is you know, it's gonna be National Donate Life Month. But the DMV is doing a raffle for an ATV, $20 a ticket. They have tickets, they will have tickets available in their office beginning Monday, the 18th. Also available cases unlimited. No guy there. And then we're gonna have ongoing events throughout the month right at DMV. So please stop in and say hello and sign up for Donate Life. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank God for daylight savings time, because town coming up with whole arsenals. of these stuff.
You're really. Better put your feet up.
Get on with it.
Got the daylight savings time, but I'm gonna go enjoy some of these.
Okay, bye, Brian.
It's easy to be a 30-second report.
Yeah.
My report, anybody got any questions?
Yep.
Adios, amigo.
So, yeah, it's a lengthy report. There's a lot of updates on it, but just to keep it brief, two quick updates. As Brian mentioned, we did just perform the IQS upgrade this past week. The benefits for us is we were able to consolidate all of the hardware so that now we're using just county infrastructure, which will save us some money in support costs with this third-party vendor. We are also able to centralize the IT support back into our department. So no longer will we have the county clerk's office calling IQS for support. They're calling us. We're working with the customers, the county clerk's office, and they're calling this third-party vendor. So it makes things a lot more efficient and saves us some money in the long run.
Oh, because that was costing when you called them.
Yeah, there's an additional support component to the contract, which, will save us some money. And then just another effort to centralize support as far as the Dreams project goes. We implemented that support model about a week and a half ago with Laserfish, which is the software application where all the digitized records end up. We added some security enhancements to that platform in the last 2 weeks, and we've also centralized that support model. So the staff over in records, whenever they have an issue, or some of the supporting departments like the clerk's office and some others, they're having issues, they've been instructed to call the IT department. We're handling those questions to best of our ability and then working directly with the vendor if need be. Just effort to make things more efficient. But with that, I mean, there's other updates, but I'd welcome any questions.
That's it.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Kevin? Yeah, sorry. No?
I was just gonna ask you if you would go over what you did with Tucker Whitman in terms of redesigning.
Yeah, so there was a question posed from a purchasing standpoint about just trying to get more visibility on some of the bids and things like that we have throughout the county with different projects and stuff. And there was no visibility on the website as far as where those bids are located. We're using BidNet, I believe, is the vendor to house all those bids. So what we're able to do is we're gonna carve out a section on the website under purchasing. I'm working with Amanda O'Grady on this now, where we're actually gonna take all that information from BidNet and actually embed that into the website. So it'll have all the live current bids at our fingertips directly from the county page.
So people doing business in the county who want to know what county work is out there.
Yes.
Have one place to go.
That's
look.
right. That's right.
Tucker he called and said, how would I even know as a small business owner, what is possible to do with the county? And I appreciate you working on
Of
that.
course.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Kevin Swab.
Good afternoon. Got my report. It's much shorter than Tom's.
Mhm, thank you.
So I don't know if you have any questions. I don't really have any big highlights. Not a lot has changed since last time. But I'm here to entertain any questions.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. The veterans, so we appreciate you.
In the process of replacing a car or a van.
The van, we're waiting for final approval from the state office of mental health. Got to push them a little bit to get it done.
And that's because it's the Dwyer Fund
Yes,
and they have to sign off on the use of the money for that purpose.
right. So that's what we're working on. And again, if you have any events in your areas, they don't have to be veteran focused events. They can just be events. We'd be happy to come down and talk to veteran, just be there. And then whenever we're at an event, what I've learned is when we're there, last year, we bought a 10x10 pop-up tent in red, white, and blue. So it gets attention. People will come by and we'll be able to talk to them. And once we start talking to them, most of the time, there's something that veterans don't know. And so we're able to get their attention and actually get them connected to benefits. So that we're trying to do that more this year. We started last year and we're going to expand it this year, for sure.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have two resolutions. GO1 is updating the investment policy. Can I get a motion to approve this?
Move it.
A second.
All in favor? Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is every year we're required to go over our investment policy and make everyone aware of it. And we have to come first.
I should have called.
That's all right. That's all right. And what I wanted to do is pass around for you here, just to show you, this is where we invest the dollars for the county. These numbers are all maximums that we've set, that they require us to set every year. And we don't go over those numbers. And we're audited on this every year. And we want to make sure we stay within those lines.
You'd have to get approval to change these.
Yeah. Well, if we go over.
Right, yeah,
Not to change it. but-
yeah. But I mean, if you want to do more than that, that all has to be approved. That's,
No, I can go ahead and put those on there. And then I would bring it to you for approval
right,
here. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And as I said, those numbers are not exactly what we have in each of those accounts, but those are the maximum limits. Some of what we try to do, our policy is to do some business with our local banks as much as possible. And we have a new partner, New York Class, which you see there two-thirds of the way down that list, that has come in at a really high interest rate for us this year and made us a ton of money. And they're a new fund that's only handles municipalities. And right now they're about 5.5%. And at the time, our money was invested at 2%. So with the quantities of money that we have in there at any one time, that could be a substantial amount that we've made this year. In the last 6 months, we've made a ton of money. And we hope to continue doing that throughout this year.
How do you define a ton?
And then I was trying, it changes every month because
Rough number.
rough number, a couple 100,000. But I'm hesitant to mention a number because the interest rates are changing all the time.
Right, no,
One comes up, the other one stays, and so it's a different amount every month. The other thing that's changing is that by January, February, all of our monies, tax monies have been spent. And so the money is just starting to come back in now. And then, so you have to calibrate that as well throughout the year to come up with that exact number for you. At the end of the following year, I'll be happy to show you a number.
No, I
But
gotta be able
That's
to pay
where-
the bills.
so that's what has to go through our committee here to go to your committee. Does anybody have any question about the investments or anything?
No. A little bit better return now than a couple years ago.
Really, a lot better, and I'm really, really happy to say that this change came about at a perfect time for us because we hit it perfectly because for the last number of years, we were down in the 1% to 2% ranges. And it popped up quickly and we were able to maximize by moving our monies over there really quickly. So this doesn't happen very often that we have that kind of a discrepancy or a change, in the policy or in the numbers. So we should really maximize all we can this year in that to get up because to use for you guys to use. I'll make the money for you. You guys spend it the way you want to.
Wouldn't give Rich's jacuzzi for him.
and this high interest rate will stay, may not, but you took advantage of it at the right time.
Correct, but it's not, it's gonna stay for right now, but the market's forever changing. But this company came up with a very innovative way that handles investments just for municipalities. And they were able to do it in a money market type of a fashion where you can take the money in and out all you want. Where in the past, we've worked with a tiered CD program, a number of CDs that coming due every 6 months or a year or 2 years. And they're down at 1% and 2%. There's some that are still locked in. I'm moving over that will be getting 5 now. So for right now, knock on wood, we hope it stays where it is. We'll continue to earn some serious interest. Can I grab that back? You can see anything, I just don't want to put it out there floating.
That's all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is not yours. GO2,
Sorry?
GO2, it's not.
No.
No.
GO2, amending Q County policy for the sale, disposition of real estate acquired through tax foreclosure.
Yeah.
She's coming.
Oh, Jenny. Yeah, I took away your thunder.
She doesn't care to thunder.
All right, go ahead.
I'll share my thunder.
Yeah.
So the recommended changes comes out of the Real Property Advisory Group, which is comprised of the Real Property Director, the Director of Planning, County Attorney. Did I get them all?
One more.
One more. Let me see.
You.
Real property.
Oh, Treasurer.
Treasurer.
Yes, sorry. Like I swear I messed myself. So the changes really come about because of the Supreme Court decision last May, the Tyler versus Hennepin, which basically said we can't keep the excess funds that's violating the takings clause. So the governor's proposed budget included language to modify the real property tax law regarding foreclosure of delinquent tax liens. Some of the language within that proposal I liked a lot as far as repurchases go. So I wanted to incorporate that into our policy, whether or not that's the version that gets passed by the state. I wanted us to be able to utilize some of that language. That I felt it was an improvement upon the prior changes that we had done with the policy. So the last revisions to this policy were made in 2022, where the repurchases were basically that we were going to go back to the court and reverse the decision on people that were approved for repurchases. There was a time lag though between when we had our ruling, when you guys decided to allow people to repurchase, and when we got judgment back from the court, basically amending our final judgment to remove those repurchased properties. Which from a title perspective, wasn't the best thing in my opinion. So the governor's language includes basically where we can include in our application for judgment language that states that any deed that we file will reattach any of the prior liens, judgments, mortgages, any interest that anybody had in the property prior would get put back onto those properties.
We will be looking at a resolution at Ways and Means to oppose the Senate version of this, which will make it much more difficult for the county in terms of.
Correct. There's actually another version out there now.
But if the governor's proposal doesn't pass or gets amended, will we have to amend this policy as well?
So we do have included in here, the main changes that I made that were made from the committee were to the repurchasing process. So the Senate bill doesn't currently address repurchases.
Okay.
So I wouldn't think that we would have to change that portion of it. But we do have, like we did add to some of our definitions, the definition of surplus. That might potentially have to change. We did add
If the Senate bill passes, not
if
so
the
much.
Senate bill passes,
Which-
right?
It will not.
Correct. But we did include a section in here, subject to state law.
Okay.
So we added that in just to basically say that our intent is to comply with whatever the state law is, and it's subject to any changes that may come about from that. Just so that people are on notice that really what we're following is the real property tax law.
Yeah, gotcha.
But really that was the main impetus for changing. There's, some tightening up of language that we did. But for the main part, it was to add in that language that I liked for the repurchases.
Motion.
You're making it?
Second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep easy.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
We will.
Think so.
We did,
Second.
What I told him.
If you need anything, give me a call.
John.
Oh, Tom.
I got it. Brian was nice enough to yield me the rest of his time, so. But I don't plan on using it. Careful with that chair, Fred.
Deadly, actually.
Oh, it's
It doesn't be
a chair.
we have money in the budget to get new chairs.
Sorry, never mind.
These are.
They are new.
These are new. We'll call the meeting to order and it looks like we are all present. So we'll start out by approving the minutes from February 14th. Do I have a motion?
So,
Tom?
A second.
Heidi? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carry. Appointments to Ag and Farmland Protection Board. I don't think we have to have a motion to approve it, but any questions or anything? Move on to departments and I would like to welcome Carrie. It's certainly not the first timer, but welcome.
First time here.
Yeah.
I'm usually watching at home, so thank you. So everyone has my report. Just a couple of things I want to point out. Thank you again to Ben for adding a last minute resolution yesterday for us. I'm happy to talk about that and explain that now or when we get to the resolutions. It should be a fairly routine before they do an amazing job in our recycling event. Another quick highlight for you is things are moving forward with our DRI award for our 3 villages. We're really excited about that. We've met with DOS staff. We anticipate meeting our consulting team, CNS companies, early next month, and then starting our meetings and our public outreach and our public meetings and all of that. Once I have a schedule of when all of those meetings are going to be happening, because committee meetings, public workshops, everything's going to be open to the public, I'll make sure that everyone knows of those. So if anyone's interested, you're welcome to come. In the meantime, if anyone has questions about the process or how it's going to go, or wants to look at the application, if you haven't already, to kind of see some of the potential projects, just reach out. I'm happy to spend time with anyone wants to talk about it. We're hoping with one of the resolutions tonight to be fully staffed very, very soon with our promotion and our fill behind. We need to have full staff. No hands, things off.
Any questions regarding Tom?
no, I.
I don't have a question, just to say congratulations. I'm thrilled to have you in that seat.
I'm optimistic, excited. See how it goes. You know, it's good because I had a great mentor with Steve and was able to see kind of how he ran the office and did things and have fantastic staff. So I'm excited about work.
So Chris and her with some resolutions. PPW 6. Finally contracted with Nicholas.
Yeah, so this is keeping Nick on again to finish working on SWOT model that he has developed and been working on in recent years for the Wasco Lake watershed mining element plan. And also having him train our new hire that will be onboarding later this year for GIS, so that that person can know how to run the model and keep it.
Have a motion.
Like motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Carrie? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
And can I just ask a question?
Sorry, yeah.
The 9-element plan has to be maintained if it's going to stay relevant. Is that kind of why the SWOT model continues in the assessment?
The SWOT model is there for us to be able to evaluate whether the BMPs, the best management practices that are suggested in the plan are actually working. So we want to be able to continue that testing and putting that data back into the model to make sure that our assumptions are actually accurate and those BMPs are doing what we thought they would do.
Because the plan calls for measures to take to improve the quality of the lake, and you're going to test to see if that's true or not.
That's the idea.
Okay. And the results of that get published and get talked about, or?
I think we have a database for some of that. I have to ask Steve.
I don't know if there was ever a plan to publish it. I
Uh-huh.
think it was a plan to use it as a tool internally,
Oh, okay.
but the outcomes can be shared, of course.
Yeah, the other monitoring and testing programs that we have, particularly the buoy program, that is another resolution. Those results include database and publicly.
Available data on the lake, but the SWAT model and the results of that, the planning department and the water quality management agency use internally, is that?
Yes, and it's still relatively new, so we're
Uh-huh.
still working through and plugging in data and making sure that the model is functioning and that data inputs are happening.
All in favor? I'll try that one again.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried, thank you. PPW 7 has authorized the chair to execute an agreement with the Finger Lakes Institute of Cayuga County to implement the 24 Wasco watershed monitoring program. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Tom? Okay, any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. PPW 8, authorize the chair of the legislature to execute permission to USDA to place European cherry fruit fly box tree moth traps in selected locations in Cayuga County. The motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion.
And seconded by,
Me.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Okay, can you just tell me what this is?
Oh, it's very important. I can't sell cherries from certain areas.
Okay, just a quick synopsis.
So this is giving authorization for traps for certain insects we put up so that we can test how invasive species are coming to the area. No cost to the county, on land we own within the right of way.
Okay.
So it's multiple years that we've participated in this program. They're adding a new insect this year to start monitoring. So it's going to help overall with tracking and monitoring invasive insects.
So this insect has pretty much demolished some of the cherry production in certain parts of the world.
So insects that they deem
And we do have
dangerous.
it.
Right.
We do have it in Western New York.
Right, so we want to be able to monitor and make sure they're not coming here, and if they are found here, that they can respond and take measures to.
Any other questions or all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. PPW 9. Resolution to fill a position for senior planner, Department of Planning and Economic Development. This is a promotion of public planner and the filling behind the entry level planner.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and a second. Second. Nothing super.
Nothing super like out of the norm here. I have an entry level planner that's been with us about 2.5 years now that has been doing senior level work pretty much most of that time. He's a rock star. And so he's very deserving of promotion. And with my promotion, I now have a vacancy. So we want to do that fill behind with the entry level planner so that we're full staff.
Questions or anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Yeah,
Only staff now. Happy. about
Almost.
PPW 10 was added and I was happy to include this because the electronic waste recycling thing is going to be happening in April. So if you have a motion to approve, motion and a second, then I'll let Carrie explain it a little bit.
Make a motion.
Not your second.
Motion and second and
Yes, thank you. So, a little bit of background for you. So we did put this out for quotes, early in the year in February. We received 3 quotes back, one from Funking, who we're proposing to contract with.
a company called E-Waste Plus and a company, Sun Environmental Corp. Sun King was the only respondent that fully responded and was going to cover everything that we asked for. They take care of registration. They do the advertising. They do the physical collection out of everyone's vehicles, hauling away the materials, all of the things, which severely reduces our staff and our volunteers needing to go, basically just doing flow management, control of how things are going through. Per our purchasing director and the details in the RFQ, you do not have to take the lowest bid. So E-Waste Plus did say they would do it all for free based on the state's new legislation around handling of e-waste, electronics, recycling, but they wouldn't do the registration. They wouldn't do the advertising. They wouldn't do the other components for us to lighten our load. We've worked with Sun King. Like I said, they're amazing, easy to work with. BOCES loves having them out there at that site. We're looking at the April event. We always do a fall event too. Staff has told me that they're estimating each event will only cost around $2,000 because they're very limited in what they can charge us for. So they're really just charging us for staff time to physically load everything. And I know that Steve has presented reports to the legislature in the past on volumes of materials collected that is kept out of not only the waste stream in our landfills, but off the side of the road. We also always let our highway department bring whatever they've collected off the side of the road as far as TVs and monitors and all of that kind of stuff.
Heidi?
There was some discussion a year or two ago about the potential for other parts of the county, in the north, perhaps in the south, having collection centers. And then having those driven in to the BOCES site. Will that be part of the program?
So to be determined on how we're doing the fall event. We've already had conversations with Sun King about trying to have either a north event or a south event, maybe both, looking at our overall budget. You see in the resolution that we have 43,000 budgeted for both electronics recycling and household hazardous waste for the year. Household hazardous waste, as you can imagine, usually uses the bulk of that budget. Most of that's reimbursable by DEC, fortunately. So that's something that the planner who's been working on our local solid waste management plan, Mr. Evan Tuthill, I've been looking at as part of that plan and already having those conversations with Sun King of we need to do a better job of hitting the north and the south end and making that available to them. The milk run is what it's called, to pick up at the different sites and then drive it around. Those conversations were being had with Sun King last year, and it turned out to not be really feasible for them, the way that they can charge for things. So they can't charge us mileage and stuff to drive the truck more, the way the state legislature changed. So that's not in the works, but we are looking at how can we better serve the north end and south end of Carroll County.
So this covers just one event?
This resolution and contract will cover for the year. So it'll cover all of the events that we have with Sun King.
However many we have.
Right. Right now, we're anticipating having two, one in April and one in the fall, but that hasn't been finalized.
And so this is just one cost, and the more events that we have, the more stretching what we're paying. The more we're getting out of.
They bill us per event based on their estimate. And I have it. Around. The link is the estimate that came in with the fee proposal from Sun King. And so it's based on actual volume collected at the event. How many
So
hours? are
however
there.
many events we have, you would multiply that times this.
Yes, we get an invoice after each event, so we
Pay
can
this
track,
per event.
right, so we can track what we have.
And I'm sure
Available in the
some is
budget.
less and some is more, depending on the volume that's being charged by volume, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chairman,
I do. I have a question for Carrie first. I've gotten a few questions on, farmland protection and people that want to apply.
Mhm.
And the question I have is the town that the property is in have to provide a letter of support for that to happen, correct?
Yes, part of the state's grant process still for farmland protection grants through New York State Ag Markets. Part of that final application that would come from a land trust includes a letter of support from the municipality or municipalities if the proposal includes more than one.
I just wanted to make the point that this last walked-on resolution was my fault. It wasn't Carol's fault. It was just mixed in the,
Nobody's.
when putting things up for the end.
Lost in the shuffle. And we'll keep you up to date on how the events are going and what those costs are. And if we need to request additional monies in the budget for next year to have additional events, we might be able.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
And welcome.
Next time we'll make it a little harder on you.
Oh, okay.
Kelly King.
Kelly's at a conference though.
Okay. Well, we got a report. So Doug Pierce. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
Give you a
allowing me to
month
skip
off.
last month. Exactly. So I get twice the amount of questions, I guess, tonight. Thanks. Good evening. A couple quick highlights. I did submit the report. The weather, as you guys know, has been incredible. It's been dry. It's been nice. We've been able to get a lot of work done, still working in streams, going back to last month's report. And then also on some of the fire lanes, which aren't used as much this time of year because a lot of them are seasonal. So to be able to get in there and hit some of those on Wasco Lake with these steep slopes and not deal with traffic all the time has been wonderful. So we've placed some culverts, stabilized some of that. Our tree sale's going on, so that gets everybody in the mood, to maybe run out there right now and plant some trees. Still not the best idea, but the sales are coming in. Our tree sale ends April 30th, and then we pick them up in May. Typical year, we'd still, have snow this time of year, but so that's moving along. And this week, most of our staff is actually at training. In Syracuse, they have the water quality program, so 300 plus conservation district employees, students, planning folks, USDA. A lot of them go to Syracuse and converge there for our annual training. So our staff is teaching some of the trainings and coordinating some of the non-ag classes. So it's great. It's a good interaction where you get to meet a lot of people and get some really good ideas. So it's been pretty busy.
Any questions, Doug?
All right.
You don't have a resolution? right?
No resolutions. All right, thank you.
Dan?
Good evening.
Hello.
Couple things, wanted to highlight from my report. Last Friday, working with the statewide cooperative extension Harvest New York team, the Taste New York staff with New York State Ag and Markets, and we had a representative from Empire State Development. We had a workshop on for folks to get certified as minority and women business owned enterprises. The state is encouraging extension to do more workshops on that. Some of their goals around getting institutions like schools and hospitals to purchase more New York State food also kicks in the MWBE requirements that the state has on a lot of procurement, and we just don't have a lot. There aren't a lot of folks that are certified. And sometimes that's just the paperwork hurdle around that. It's, it's online now, but if it was printed out, it's a pretty thick stack of papers to go through that. So even sometimes when people are qualified, they're just intimidated by the process and say, I'm not going to do that. And then as a follow-up to that, and kind of to
to help celebrate Women's Month and working with the Equal Rights Heritage Center to kick off some of the events for Harriet Tubman's birthday. We had a vendor showcase of minority women business-owned enterprises on Saturday at the Equal Rights Heritage Center. We had about 17 vendors there and I don't have a number on the number of people that walked through, but for a kind of rainy day in March, a pretty steady flow of customers coming in. So that was good. We're with our partners at Cornell Pro Dairy, we're going to be doing a workshop on manure storage cover and flare systems. This is again something the state's looking at to provide more incentives for farms to install covered flare systems to help meet some of the state's goals around greenhouse gas reduction. And we started our annual tractor safety class, got 15 kids enrolled in that, and our nutrition programs go along right now, working on a feeding picky eaters series at Play Space here in Auburn. Happy to take any questions.
The youth fair at or the 4-H, that's scheduled?
Yes.
I thought I saw the date.
It's the first Friday and Saturday in August. So somewhere in the 1st to 3rd, but it might be the 3rd to 5th off the top of my head. And we'll be at the Union Springs Fire Department again this year. And so
I just heard my comments, it was very successful last year and hopefully
yeah,
just as successful, if not more so this year.
Yeah, we're deep in the planning stages of that and hope to put together a good event. Great.
Chairman, I wanted to let you know, and I think Dan probably knows that I'll be talking with our chair to see if I can invite some of the 4-H members who do present at the fair to talk about what they do, to talk about what they need, perhaps from us, and so in the next month get that presentation on the full legislative agenda.
Yep. Any other questions from the committee or the other members of the pledge?
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Try you too. There any comments?
As usual, I bring show and tell, my personal last show and tell. I'll just point out a couple of things from the report. First one is we did finalize our annual report. Every year the tourism office puts together an annual report on the different accomplishments and things that our office did. It also provides the overall mission, vision, staff, and such in the office. So you will see basically we have our strategic plan. We set up a 5-year strategic plan. We'll be redoing it in 2024 for a new 5-year strategic plan starting in 25. The annual report is basically set together in a way to answer how our progress is going in the various pillars and projects determined in that strategic plan. So I have a whole stack of them. I'll leave some more for the rest of the legislature and the table outside. If you ever have any questions or follow up based on what's listed on there, you know where to find me.
I'm excited about the digital math.
Yes. Yes, you heard about our digital maps. Yes, that's the
there's been some
one.
nice media and it was very interesting and provoking to.
Yes.
I wanted to go out and read one right away.
Very good.
Yeah.
So it's our wonder maps that's also talked about in the report. They are on the website and they work really nice with mobile devices to where it's almost an app, but it comes directly from our website. And the beautiful thing about it is that we're able to do lots of different sets of maps. So we have one for county parks and trails, we have one for marinas, we have one for cultural and historical sites, and so on. We actually have one specifically for the eclipse of all the events happening for the eclipse, so people can find that and track it fast. I'll switch over to that then. So everybody's probably by now seen our poster. I think I brought it last month to the legislature. We have these postcards floating all around the county with a QR code that takes you directly to the great amount of events that are happening for the eclipse. Every day we get other phone calls saying, hey, we decided to do this. Hey, we're working on that. We're trying to gauge the expectations of visitors that they think they will have by giving away the solar glasses. We have solar glasses available for distribution to residents, businesses, and the event holders. Primarily, we're trying to get them out to all of our tourism partners, having events around the county. Several of them have opted to purchase their own glasses. So we try to kind of gauge how many people they're expecting so that we can at least track some numbers and help Cayuga Emergency Services be aware of how many people we think will be floating around. Although this once in a lifetime event, which also means it's once in a lifetime event. So there's no previous data that we can kind of gauge to see how it's going to go. But it's been very interesting. So I'll leave you some of these as well, and I'll leave some more out there to help us distribute them around the county.
Emergency services will be prepared when they're driving around with their glasses on.
That's right. I tried a pair of them on. I meant to bring some for you today too, and I forgot. I tried to a pair on, and you see nothing with them. Like, okay, I don't quite understand, but I've never lived through an eclipse before either, so I don't really know what to expect.
At least on your phone, you're okay.
Yeah, that's right. Look at through your phone. But the beautiful thing about it, and what we're trying to educate, even if you are, if you're blind, if you have sight difficulty, you still experience the eclipse. So you can just close your eyes and still experience the eclipse because you will, the temperature will drop. Animals will behave differently. So it's a whole sensation that you will have, not just through sight. So it's been enlightening learning and going through this curve.
Any other questions? Thank you.
The last one I'll leave you with is our new Harry Tubman poster. So this is the first in a series of prominent historical individuals. I only brought a couple of these, but they're available for distribution at the Equal Rights Heritage Center. So it's Explore National History in Cayuga County. We're trying to get the message out that Cayuga County has so many significant individuals who made an impact in national history. So, we'll be rolling out this message throughout the year, releasing different posters as we go along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Flesh.
Hello, everyone. How are we?
Good.
Good. How are you? Welcome.
Just a couple quick updates since I sent my report in. On Monday, we had a very good meeting with Onondaga County. Once again, we're pursuing every option we can and every avenue possible for a second source of water for Cayuga County. It was a very good meeting. It was very interesting. Their water is at 285 1,000 gallons, and we're right now paying 470 1,000 gallons in the city of Auburn. So it's quite a substantial difference in price. But unfortunately, the pitfalls became, whereas the supply, the connection point we were looking for a new supply at Jack's Reef is inadequate. It just doesn't have capacity enough. So it was a little problematic that we would not be able to use that connection point there. We went back and looked at two connection points that we had done previous studies on, and they're just, at this point, not doable. They're too expensive. And also, there's one of the funny things you don't think about. Onondaga County water is fluoridated. So to backfeed the city of Auburn, the city of Auburn does not add fluoride to their water. In my understanding, there's something in the city charter where that's not allowed. So Onondaga County water would be problematic for us under any circumstances. So that was a little disappointing. That did not work out. And then also on our county region, on the county, the regional project, our feasibility study is in rough draft right now. It's almost complete. We're working forward to get that done in the next few days, and it'll soon be ready. And also the regional project, we plan to apply for grants, WIA grants and some other grants the early part of June. We're also working with Senator Schumer's office and Senator Gillibrand's office for member item monies. So we've worked hard with them. We continue to work with them. We don't know if we'll make the funding round for this year. Hopefully we have enough work done, enough engineering work, and enough information be adequate for the next year, for 2020. Also, the authority board had asked, we just so that this committee is aware, we've put forward Jonathan Anna's name to be on with the Water Authority Board. The request has gone into Amanda. We've got a vacancy we're looking to fill. Jonathan's from the north part of the county, and we really need some representation from that part of the. And the one last outstanding issue is I'd sent a request.
Carl sent the letter, not really a resolution, but I gave everybody a letter that came from Carl addressing the two, I guess the two resolutions that this legislature passed in November. I told them it was, I mean, it's not in resolution form. I don't believe we're going to take action today, but I thought that it would be good for him to have an opportunity to talk to the committee. And if we had any questions, then we could start gathering information, so we're making intelligent decisions, informed decisions.
Thank you, Ben. That's much appreciated. These resolutions are very important to us. The Water Authority is one of the unique entities in the county that we are not funded by the county legislature. All our monies are based on water sales. We're revenue driven. We're almost like an independent business that's part of the county. So we don't have a budget item in your county budget. So for us to spend money on projects is very difficult and cumbersome. We just don't have the funds to really pursue projects without doing extra work. In the last few years, we've taken on extra work digging water line for different towns and such, and changing hydrants and valves, and taking on operation and maintenance to create more of a revenue stream. So we're really in desperate need of this ARPA money to pursue the regional project.
I guess I have one question, Carl, and it always refers to the pumping station. But does that pumping station, that include the treatment? The pumping station does include the treatment, or does that?
No, yes, it does.
But at one time they were talking about
That was,
pumping raw water to
yes, that was,
back and forth.
yeah, just to clear that, that was the village of Aurora had proposed putting a pumping station in at Long Point and pump the water. I think it's about 4 miles back to the village. It would not be treated water. They would treat it at the Wells College treatment plant. It's very cumbersome at best. But our plan is to treat the water, and we would be picking up customers from the treatment plant. We would go back and be picking up customers along Honico Road, Lower Lake Road, Sunset Beach, and hopefully the village of Aurora would be buying water.
Now with those other roads that you talked about, they're going farther south.
Some south and some north. And one of the things that.
Somewhere between the Long Point and Aurora then, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And one of the interesting things about this regional project is as you look at this, we had the opportunity very quickly to get to the Genoa King Ferry District. The fellows told me they've had problems through the years when it was dry, that they, about 30 years ago during the drought in the 90s, they were very close to shutting down because they had no water. So if we could, theoretically, we can supply Genoa King Ferry quite easily. We could also feed the town of Locke and at some point get back to Moravia. Moravia is also on wells. So there's always a chance for suspect, for things to go wrong with groundwater sources.
Any questions from the committee or?
I do. When you talk about a feasibility study, what feasibility study for what? Can you just explain that to me?
The feasibility study is just to gather information on a regional project, the pumping station at Long Point, put together what would be needed, a list of the engineering work that would be needed, the amount of money that would be needed, and just outline whether project is doable or not. For anyone to make a decision, the question is how much, what does it accomplish? Is there a need for it?
So that'd be really good for us to get our hands on one.
Yes, it would. That's the missing link, so to speak.
Just had a question about the Jack's Reed problem. Would that connection be part of this long-term connection to the north from the Aurora pumping station?
No,
Not connected to that at all?
no, that's actually, no, we wouldn't be connected to that. We could help Onondaga County that Jack's Reef connection is in Onondaga County, and that's another political problem that would have to be resolved. But theoretically, we're very close to Onondaga County on Route 31. In an emergency, we could supply them with water. And I think we could do that today with Auburn water. But once again, this fluoride issue is something that would have to be dealt with.
Committee, any questions?
I have, I'm wondering, I appreciate the feasibility question, because that was what I had in mind, like feasible in terms of it's a doable project. You'd be able to raise enough money to do it and it, it would work. And that's what's currently being worked on.
Yes.
And that would be very helpful information. Could you tell me what the significance of the remark you made about Onondaga is? Because I know we were talking about, is this the right project? Would it be cheaper to get money from water from Onondaga County? Does this make more sense? Is that why you talked to Onondaga County to see what it would be if they became the second source?
We had studied that 4 or 5 years ago, and all of the Barton and Judas report recommended that Long Point was our best option.
In that study you did, the mapping or whatever it was
Right,
called, the master plan.
The master plan. But then we became aware of some conversation that there was a supply at Jack's Reef, which is a lot closer than the original connection points we had first studied in the original master plan report.
Jack's Reef refers to Onondaga's project?
Yes.
Okay.
It's another, it would make the original master plan report, we looked at 2 connections in Onondaga County.
Mhm.
And some of us maybe thought we were smarter than the engineers and thought that Jack's Reef was closer. Why didn't they put that in the report? Well, they had done their homework. Barton and Juice had done their homework, and it's just, the pipe is there, but it's not adequate to supply what we need.
And the project itself of getting second source from Onondaga County was more expensive than you thought it was? Is that what you were trying to say?
No,
No?
well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so to speak. We thought we had found a loophole and that we could find a quicker connection that would be less money. And if it would be less money than putting a second source in on Cayuga Lake, we would have to look at it.
Of course.
But it's not feasible, is what we found out Monday. And we probably could have saved ourselves a lot of trouble with a little bit more homework. But it was good talking to Onondaga County, and we found out there's some other issues. One of the things that we're trying to do with this second source is give Auburn some redundancy in an emergency on Wasco Lake. 2016, the corona bacteria, don't have the quite.
Yep, cyanobacteria, yep.
Was in the Auburn water. And I'm not beating Auburn up. They've done a lot of work to make sure it doesn't happen again. But if the whole north end of Wasco Lake was to turn green, we could have a serious problem in the county. So we've looked for ways to get redundancy also to the city of Auburn and also to help our, outlying towns and villages.
And this might be my ignorance, but we talked about a pumping station. I'm like, well, now we're talking about a water treatment plant. Well, I guess they go hand in hand.
Yes.
And then there was a rumor that the milk plant was paying for a the water treatment plant. That is not.
That is not true.
I mean, that's what I had heard at one point. I'm like, where did that come from?
No, that's a rumor,
Okay.
unfounded.
And the milk plant's role in this is to be able to, you guys sell water so that you can make enough money to afford the project?
The milk plant would be a very, very large customer that would enable quite a good revenue stream to help pay for this project. Not totally pay for it, but like any business, it's a great opportunity. It's a large plant. They're gonna use over 1 million gallons of water a day.
And to Ben's point, I heard him say before, the money might not be available for grants, but that's changing too?
Our Mark Copy, our financial advisor, and he's well known in the industry, tells us that we have very good ratings. We're scoring very well in the grant process. And we're hoping that in the near future, Senator Schumer sent out an email 2 weeks ago and extended his time that he would accept applications. So what's happening is this federal budget hasn't been passed and this money's kind of piling up. So I think if we hit this right, we'll get funded. I think there's great opportunity for us.
And that's gonna be part of the feasibility study, that you're gonna need this much grant money? Is that how all this works? I'm just so,
Yes, you're right on track on that. What you make is some assumptions in this feasibility study. Yeah. You're gonna look at different assumptions. If we get 30% grant, 40% grant, what kind of help we have, what our costs are gonna be. At the end of the day, this project is revenue driven by water sales. So if we can't make water cheap enough, so to speak, then we have a serious problem. No one will buy our water.
and the pipe that you need to get through towards the milk plant has to be approved by Aurelius, and that's a stumbling block. I'm hearing all that too.
Well,
Oh, it's different? Okay, that's not what's in this
no, this,
1.1 million. Okay,
not this, no.
okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ben. Keep me straight, my friend.
Yes, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee or from the legislators?
I do, just in regards to the grants. So you talk about grants, so what types of grants are you exploring? Are they matchable grants? Can you give me some idea of what grant opportunities you're looking at?
I can speak to it, but not very well informed. Our financial advisor handles that. There's WIA grants, there's Environmental Facilities Corporation grants, and then there's, of course, they're called IMG grants. Most of these grants are they will give you 30 or 40% of the total project. They're not, I don't believe they're really matching grants, but I'm probably not the right person to speak to that question.
We'd just be curious to know if there's support for these grants that you're talking about. Like, what type of support is behind these grants that are going to be facilitating all this revenue?
But the key thing that helps a lot with these grants, and we're working on that, we have quite a lot of letters of support from the towns and villages. We would also like to get a letter of support from the city of Auburn and from the health department. The public support for this project will do a lot to help with those grants.
Do you have state support? I mean, you talked about Gillibrand. I mean, what kind of state or even federal support are you looking at possibly obtaining? I mean, you can have all the local municipality support, but you need to take it a step higher. Is there support and political support at the state and federal levels to support what you're looking to do?
Once again, I'm probably not the right person to answer that question, but I believe there's support. When you look at a project that might encompass 7 or 8 towns and 4 or 5 big villages, I believe that the politicians will look at this as a kind of a great opportunity to get a lot of good work done in one area.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the grant stuff is a very defined field of endeavor. And as Ben knows from all his years in the regional market, it's very intricate, isn't it, Ben? Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle. That seat should be warmed up pretty good now.
Cool down.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, had nothing to add to my written report.
Great, very good. You got any questions for Kyle?
I have a question just so.
So there is one?
Yeah, sure. You do the milk plant, the milk tank,
Bulk milk tanks?
yeah.
Yes.
Will you be doing them this summer or do you do them all year long or how many are there to do these days?
There's still about 100. But we only do them every 10 years.
Calibrate,
Requirements
yes.
every 10 years, full test every 10 years. So we've done one. There's been a few moving around between the Mennonite farms when, they're upgrading. We just did a 8,000 gallon tank up on Bridge Road. They upgraded. So I get calls from DFA and the Federal Milk Market Agency when they're doing the tanks.
Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you.
Gary? Gary, you got it. How are we doing, Gary?
Oh, better than ever.
You don't have any resolutions, do you?
No, I don't.
All right.
I will, next month. I do have, you have my report. I've got a couple things I just do want to, probably touch improve, under the admin side,
the update on the county built office building project, I want to encourage everybody to keep moving that forward. You guys had a presentation to the legislature last month, and we don't want that to die in the vine. Hopefully nothing ever happens with this building, but we'll regret that we didn't proceed with some form of decision on that. We had an issue with the mental health building. Yesterday, we have heard about it. We ended up having to shut the building down for the day. One of my guys was removing a urinal because they're converting a men's room into a ladies' room. And he had shut off the main to the building. And he did that, but the only problem was somebody had put the bypass, had turned the bypass on, and he didn't check the bypass. So when he pulled the shut off on the urinal out, it threw water all over and flooded the room. Luckily, we got it shut down fairly quickly, and we cleaned it up really quick, and there's no permanent damage to the building. We removed some of the floor molding to make sure that water hadn't got up into the sheetrock, and it does not appear as though that happened. The good news is it's not over quite a large area, but it was level with the new part of the building, so it wasn't like it was 4 inches deep here, and it was like 3/8 of an inch deep. Everything was very spaced. We lucked out with that a little bit. Now, the two resolutions I'll be bringing forward next month, two of them, at least two that I know of, that I hope to bring forward. Concrete work at the front of the public safety building, they had requested that. Funding in the budget, I think it was actually removed from the budget with a recommendation to take it out of the building reserve fund. And the same thing with the replacing the steel roof on the public safety building. The original jail was constructed in 1988 with a steel roof. For whatever reason, the steel roof must have been failing in 2005 because it was coated with a coating, but that coating is failing pretty dramatically now. I'll provide the pictures and so on to support the resolution. So we think we better replace that roof before we start getting any other damage in the building. So I'll be bringing that resolution for your consideration next month. And that's all I have unless you have questions.
Any questions? Committee, Ledge? Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Double Strito.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Good, how are you? Hey, I sent in a report. A lot of it was updates on previous projects. If there are specific questions on the report, I could. Do we brief update on the nature center on there too?
So phase one award by Kelly, that's not me now, right?
It is not. It is not. Similar name, not exactly the same, similar. It's close. I was up at the Nature Center this morning. We actually started delivering some equipment that we've had stored and in stock, so furniture, office furniture, things like that, floors done. I was very excited to see a water system being installed. That's always important and required to have the rest of the building obviously open, so it was very good to see that installation going on. And as I said, we're putting a lot of operational stuff, displays, offices in the building up there too. So it's nice to see that move along. We did have a meeting with the Ready Commission this week. They're targeting, depending on coordination with us and with some of their state partners, late April for an opening date for the facility, ribbon cutting for them. That would be the first day the building would be open. That's one of the things that they would like to do is have that be the actual opening, or they not do a soft opening ahead of time. So we're gonna get that probably. But it's nice to see that project coming to a close up there.
Yeah, it's really full.
Yeah. Nice change.
Any questions regarding Doug's report? Otherwise, he has two resolutions. The first one is pretty straightforward. Agreeing to work with Cayuga County Soil and Water. Have a motion.
Make a motion.
And second, Tom. Any discussion on this one? I mentioned it last month that we were going to be bringing it, and I think you probably work with them on a kind of a more regular basis anyhow. So
We do regularly, yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. The next one, TPW 5, is for the replacement of two ovens We'll have a motion motion for the resolution and a second for discussion.
Thank you.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
Stephanie. And Doug, if you want to briefly give us a.
Sure. So there are actually two sets of double ovens up at the pavilion. One of them is actually a retired set from the jail. Those failed on us at the end of last season, so we started looking into replacements. Over this winter, we've had some trouble with the other set. So we have one set that's down. We have another set that's been highly recommended for us to replace due to its age. These were installed in 2011, actually, or earlier, depending on the loan ones that we have from the jail too. So obviously, in an effort to keep that building operating, these would be required. They are a direct model replacement for what is currently there. We've gotten all those years out of it at this point. So
the money for these would come from a reserve fund that gets funded by the.
it is not in this case, and what we discovered when we started to work on this resolution was that the reserve fund hasn't been funded since 2022. As the former contract expired, it was the date of the information in the contract didn't explicitly say how to fund it as we have in the past. So Fred and I have looked at that for the future iteration of the contract to make sure that language is included in there. So what we would have normally done in 22, 23, and including in this year 24 is we would have taken half of the rental revenue from the building and put it into a reserve account specifically for any repairs that are done, equipment replacement or repairs done to the building. That language just was omitted from the last contract. So the funds still go to the general fund. They still come into, they weren't put into the reserve account because the resolution and the contract didn't say so. It was just an omission from that one. As we're in process of renegotiating that contract.
So where are the proposed funds coming from?
Come from the contingency fund.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do have a quick question, just for clarification. So it's a 2/3 vote requirement,
Yes.
and that's because of the transfer?
From the contingency account.
That's what I mean. So when it's a 2/3 vote, it's because of.
Yeah, just the reverse. When the monies are coming out of either contingency or the general fund, it requires
The 2/3.
vote.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so this is I guess, an unbudgeted expense that we're coming up with. And we didn't know that the ovens were on their way out when we did the budget for coming up for 2024.
We actually didn't realize that the reserve hadn't been funded. We went to look to the reserve to take this funds where it normally come from. And that was when we realized the reserve was not sufficient enough to cover this expense, which prompted the question, why haven't we transferred the funds in over the last 2 years? Which made us look back and realize that wasn't authorized in this current contract as it had been in previous contracts.
So the county would have taken in the same amount of money, just that we didn't transfer the money.
Correct.
As we had
Fund the
done
contingency.
prior.
Right.
Yeah.
Fund the contingency, the reserve that's set up specifically for the building. We took in the revenue, but didn't allocate it to the reserve as we had done in previous years.
Nice question, Ben.
Yep.
I'm not really paying attention, I guess. So the revenue would have come from the pavilion itself and the amount of money that the county gets from that contract with A&M.
Yes, correct.
So a portion of that revenue from renting out the pavilion and having events there comes back to the county, but it just sat somewhere instead of going into a reserve?
Yeah, just all, it goes into the general fund without
Oh.
being directed to the reserve. So we still receive the revenue, which is where it's allocated at the
Oh,
time.
the county does, but we never transferred it into this little pot of money reserve account so you could make these repairs.
Correct, because it was not authorized in the current contract version.
Whose fault is it? No, okay. I'm like, no, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it just got missed.
I can't peg Fred because he didn't.
Yeah, Fred.
Didn't do that.
Yeah, lucky I have.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, this is kind of straighten it out.
We'll fix it next time, so to speak, yes. I'm not,
And it's an allocation issue that we're straightening out.
correct.
It just wasn't itemized.
That was the word I was looking for, the allocation.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carry. Anything else?
You're done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Still bailing on.
I mean, it
I
is.
know.
So that sunlight. How we doing?
Good. The only thing I'd like to add is actually Fred and I are gonna be working on.
Big project.
It's gonna be a big project, yes. The influx of solar farms and wind farms and protecting the county roads for damages created by those. Fred and I are gonna start working on that, for the Conquest Farm, solar farm first.
Garnett, I think is the name.
Garnett, yes.
Garnett, yes.
That's a 200 megawatt solar farm.
Largest one in our county.
I think it's probably the largest one in the state.
I was afraid
When
to
it's
say that, but
done.
yeah.
It's 2,000 acres, 1,000 acres of panels.
State's taking the lead on that and obviously concerned about the roads that the trucks are running on. Some of those are pretty heavy trucks.
Yes, there would be, I think, well, I get them confused because I've been reading so many of them. I think it's actually the wind towers in Venice that are actually gonna be the heaviest loads.
Okay.
They'll be bringing in 250,000 pounds on a truck.
We'll have those to address too, that's.
Yes.
For what means are you looking to protect the roads? Is it by posting different things?
Bonding.
There's a permitting process, and as part of the permitting process, bonds can be required.
We're gonna require bonds, so any damages.
Oh, so they would monetarily be responsible to fix them. You're not
Correct.
looking to like ban heavy traffic or.
No,
No,
correct.
no.
We can't.
Because they have a right to drive on the roads.
Right.
The county has a right to impose certain conditions.
Restrictions.
We may need an engineer at some point, but we have to get through the fine details first.
Yes.
There's a lot of details with that project that are mounting up and it's being delayed, I believe, at least a year.
Yes.
So
Yes, the Conquest project's been in the works for
years.
at least 4 or 5 years. It's been talked about, but they're really they're getting ready to apply for their permits. So in order for the permits to go into place, they have to have our permits, so.
And the town has negotiated a agreement with the, and we have some questions on it. I
Yes,
guess is a polite way to put it.
Yes, yeah. They didn't protect themselves very well. And same thing with the town of Venice right now is working with the wind farm down there. That's a 100 megawatt wind farm that's going in down in Venice, 22 mills. And there's also another 100 megawatt solar farm in Venice that's been proposed. So it's gonna keep happening. So hopefully we can get ahead of it. And my hopes is, and I think Fred's on the same page, maybe we want something boilerplate across. So every time one of these come up, we just take care of it. Yeah. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So, but yes, it's gonna be a task.
Any other questions regarding his report or otherwise we'll move into the DPW one. For the and to hire the summer help.
Should,
Motion by
Motion.
Stephanie. Second, Tom. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. DPW 2 is to authorize the chair to award the material bids, and you have a copy of all the material bids. Motion. Tom? Motion. Seconded by Hans. Any questions or comments?
They're just, if, for those of you that don't know what they are, there are commodities bids, not only for us, but they're also the ones that all the schools and towns piggyback off from throughout the year. So it's for everybody.
Right, how much have they gone up since last year? I've heard there was an influx in prices. Is that
Depends on what which bid.
asphalt, hot coal?
So asphalt is based off an index.
Okay.
So it's whatever the index is for the month. It fluctuates up and down. They're pretty stable compared to last year. Pricing on that. Stone is up probably 10% again this year. Roughly.
So those prices fluctuate as the year goes.
For asphalt, yes,
And
index.
you modify your paving based upon the money in the budget versus material pricing.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why,
And where CHIPS money comes in or doesn't come in. CHIP money covers some of it or not, but that part, that's a different item line.
actually, so I have to watch it because we are only funded by CHIPS money. So if the CHIPS money, if they cut the 100 million that they're talking about cutting, we're gonna have to modify the paving list drastically. Yes, so the way the county funds
we have to have that CHIPS funding. Without it, we don't have a budget line.
That's your entire budget basically for road right now is paving is the CHIPS money.
Correct.
Any other questions regarding the PPW two? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And last one is the highway superintendent to sign the agreements with the towns for mowing.
I'll make a motion.
Motion Stephanie. Second. Heidi? Any questions? Are they the same towns as?
Everybody sign up?
The same, yes, the same every year. Yeah. We only budget a certain amount, so we can only let out so many contracts. But the same towns, it's been historically for 7 or 8 years.
It's just to educate myself and throw it out there, whatever towns wanna.
No, it's, we offer it to the same towns that have done it in the previous years, so.
They have a minimum time they have to mow it and there's standards.
Yeah.
They have to mow twice a year.
It's just. Oh, and it was your department to make sure that those roadsides are mowed by contract.
Correct. If we didn't have this contract, we'd have to hire more people and get more mowers.
A lot more to deal with.
Right, yep.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And finally, I mentioned to Brian earlier that last month, we had a resolution to hire a welder. And there was a back bill in it that I asked him to remove and we passed it without the back bill. And I don't see it on here and.
Yes, it'll be coming next month. I currently still have an MEO. So I promoted one of our MEOs to welder. So that opens up an MEO. That's what you'll be seeing next month. But I also still currently have an MEO vacancy right now that I haven't been able to fill, so no rush to get it in. And the other vacancy I have is diesel mechanic for the heavy shop.
Any other questions? Otherwise, thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
We also have Ledge 1, fix the date for the public hearings. Public hearing.
Briefly?
Yeah.
So every 3 years, the county has
Hey,
to.
time's up.
Okay, we're done. All in favor?
A motion first.
No, we'll just run after that. So every 3 years, the county has to consider renewing the room tax. That's an additional tax on bed and breakfasts, on hotels, motels, that type of thing. The time is up again. This helps tourism. They get a percentage. The treasurer's office gets a percentage. This is just setting the date and time of the public hearing. There'll be a public hearing and then anybody who wants to speak on that can speak on that.
So it's not approving any kind of amount or anything like that right now. It's
That's
just to
correct.
Just get feedback from the public.
Just get feedback from the public.
Have a motion?
Make a motion.
Stephanie, seconded by Tom. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. There's no further business of this group. There can motion to adjourn. Tom? Hans? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you very